not the good guys right now necessarily, and I mean, it's hard for me. I don't necessarily believe that intrinsically, but our behavior in many ways could cause a lot of people to ask that question legitimately. For example, you think about the people that we walked away from in Afghanistan and the way we walked away from them. We left not only these special operators, these interpreters in the lurch, but women. There's a level of gender apartheid that is taking place in Afghanistan right now that is unfathomable. And we are supposed to be the country that advances that is not acceptable, and that we will go to any length to prevent that kind of thing from happening. Yet we act as if it's not even happening, and we legitimize the government of the Taliban, who not only was our enemy for 20 years, but who is conducting a level of gender apartheid that is appalling. We legitimize them. We send them between $40 to $80 million every 10 days for humanitarian aid and counterterrorism money, if you can believe that. We're actually giving counterterror dollars to the Taliban to target ISIS. I mean, it's anybody who has worked in that country around counterterrorism, intelligence, special ops, knows that's laughable, yet it's what we're doing. And it causes you to step back and say, how are we perceived right now? I mean, we're allowing Siraj Haqqani, the father of suicide bombing in Afghanistan, a man who is probably responsible for 1,000 NATO deaths, who once claimed that he persuaded 1,500 Afghan fighters to blow themselves up in the name of his distorted cause. $10 million FBI bounty on his head, $10 million. This is a guy that couldn't put his head in the same place one night after another when we were tracking him, right? He was one of the most wanted men in the world. Still has that bounty on his head. He's now the Minister of Interior in Afghanistan. That's right. He's the one who issues travel documents. He's the one who issues passports. And most recently, he was getting crisp high fives from his adoring fans in Saudi Arabia, because he was allowed to travel by the UN Security Council and the United States with impunity within 1 mile of based U.S. forces. The father of suicide bombing in Afghanistan, who still has a $10 million bounty on his head, was allowed to travel freely. And again, this isn't, to me, this isn't like what happened in Vietnam, where there's reconciliation, right? Where we make a decision, okay, this was a mistake, we shouldn't have been here, at least that's the policy decision, and we start to reconcile, we start to normalize relations with Vietnam. We are talking about an organization in the Taliban, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda, and make no mistake, they are all the same, that has a meta-narrative of destroying the way of life in the West and establishing a caliphate and ultimately ushering in an end of days apocalyptic type scenario. And we are normalizing relations with them. We are normalizing relations with an organization that creates gender apartheid on an abhorrent scale. Yet we're normalizing that as if it's fine. And I have to believe that if we continue this kind of just irresponsible, head in the sand kind of behavior, that we're going to reap it. And all of the indicators are blinking red right now. 8 ISIS operatives arrested in multiple cities in the United States. They came across the southern border. The border has been open for how long now? We know that Hamza bin Laden is alive and well. He's not dead. The son of Osama bin Laden is now leading external operations out of Afghanistan and has ushered statements, to paraphrase, that he's going to bring the battlefield Afghanistan back to the West and to the United States. You know what I think shocks a lot of people when the GWAT veterans talk about what's coming is the level of fidelity that they offer in terms of the reporting. I mean, people say, well, who the hell are you to even say this? What do you even know about this? And the answer is that not all of them, but quite a few of our GWAT veterans who got involved in the recovery of our allies, they have access to these same allies in the country who are trained to observe activity that's happening and to listen to what's going on around them, and have had networks for years, and they just don't feel comfortable sharing this information with the government of the United States. And guess what else? The US made a conscious decision under this administration to move away from Afghanistan and our allies. We walked away from, on the intelligence side, roughly 98% of our on-the-ground intelligence capability. The same capability that we said we will never let this happen on the homeland again. And we spent 20 years building this apparatus. We walked away from 98% of it. And we made the conscious decision to do over-the-horizon targeting, which we know before 9/11 didn't work. We missed bin Laden on multiple times. And even in the wake of the Afghan abandonment, we killed a family of 10 innocent people who were delivering water using over-the-horizon capability. And it's not working. And so as a result of that walking away from our human assets, we have a serious problem on our hands. And the only assets that we have are the ones that are talking to our veterans. And they're the ones who are sharing this information.